Hey everybody, Mark Walters from BigFanboy.com here once again at San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm here standing here with Charles Ricciardi. Charles is the producer of the very, very awesome new documentary, Drew the Man Behind the Poster, which actually premiered here at San Diego Comic-Con. You guys had your big premiere on Friday night, and this is opening in select theaters across the country, including some in our hometown of Dallas, Texas. It's got to be really gratifying to finally have this thing out and done, and to be able to premiere it here. It seems like that in and of itself would be like a tremendous accomplishment.
It's so gratifying to be here at Comic-Con. We started here. This has been a 4-year project, a little over 4 years. We actually shot some of our production here when Drew won an award for all of his work here at Comic-Con. So fan base is here. Part of the movie was, rooted here, and it's just great to be here. I mean, his fans really came out. We had a panel Friday night at 7, and it was just standing room only. A lot of people were unfortunately turned away, but it was just really great. Sam Witwer, Thomas Jane.
Surprise appearance by Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane, surprise appearance. Dean DeBoy. It's about How to Train Your Dragon. It was great.
Yeah, and we should also tell people that one of the things that's interesting about Drew is that I think there's a lot of misconceptions about him as a person because we all know him as that movie poster artist. And one of the things that I think is particularly fascinating and that a lot of people are going to enjoy seeing in the documentary is not only his origins and beginnings, but the fact that he wasn't really a movie guy, and that the whole thing with him doing movie posters was kind of a fluke in a way.
Right. I mean, people have a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that he's just such an artist, so focused on his craft that he doesn't really have time to get interested in movies or spend a lot of time at the cinema or catch up reviewing what the films were like. Sometimes he's worked so much and so quickly, so often, that he's just been painting. And I think that's one thing at Comic-Con, because we're such fans doing the movie and talking about the films that we expect him to be doing.
Right. And you guys managed to get some absolutely amazing interviews with people like Spielberg and George Lucas, and Harrison Ford, and Michael J. Fox. I mean, just really great. And all these guys are just heaping praise on Drew because they all love him so much. I specifically want to talk about Lucasfilm, because when you guys went to Lucasfilm and got to walk around and see the originals on the walls and stuff, I imagine that it was a little hard not to kind of nerd out in that moment, and really lose composure where you were and what you were doing.
Oh my gosh! Well, we contacted Drew just a couple months before just to propose the idea about the documentary, and he was on board. He was very supportive, and truthfully, he actually helped us with the Lucasfilm angle because he basically gave us the credibility that he was he approved this project. So when we started, that was the first day of filming at Lucasfilm. The whole crew had just basically gotten together for the first time. We landed, and the next thing we're in their offices and filming, and we were very nervous. I mean, it was heaven for us because we're there to do a job and be very professional and not try to look giddy, But at the same time, we're looking around the walls where there's just figurines and original artwork, Drew's, some of it, other artists with their portrayals of the Indiana Jones, Star Wars characters all over the place. We were very excited.
Well, you also got to film a somewhat monumental moment in where it was the first time Drew actually met Harrison Ford, which was kind of shocking to me that I always would have assumed that those guys met way long ago, but that was their first meeting together.
Shocking to us too. I mean, he had painted Harrison more than any other actor.
Yeah.
And I guess it goes back to that same false presumption that Drew is a guy that goes to some kind of Hollywood party. He goes to the Hollywood parties, the premieres, the Klieg lights, he's there with everyone else. And that just doesn't happen. That never happened.
Right.
And so I don't think there's any bad feelings between Harrison and Drew. It's the opposite. It's just that opportunity was never there. They're not in that same circle. So when we had the chance, when we heard that and learned that kind of upped the ante. Of course, not only to get Harrison, try to have an interview with him, which was not easy. He was busy, and everyone's busy, but him more so. But also to try to stage it where you can have Drew on site. And when one thing happened, and then Drew was going to be able to come up, it was perfect.
Yeah. Was there anybody that you guys went after that you just could not work it out for? Or was there one that you lost maybe along the way that was for one reason or another couldn't work out?
Yeah, it's hard to remember. Certainly, I mean, for every interview we have there were a lot of phone calls, emails, and just attempts to get people on board. And I would say that no one really rejected the offer on the basis that they didn't want to be part of it. It was always about scheduling or a strange reaction. People would say, well, like, I don't know what I would say. I'm not an artist. Like, these would be filmmakers, So I would be feeling awkward, and then they'd proceed to say, because I would speak to some of them or their assistants, or get emails, and they would tell me how they would heap the praise on Drew, and then start to break down the art, and I'm like, that's exactly what we want you to say, you know exactly what to say. Yeah. I would say one guy was John Carpenter. I thought he's a great person to talk to. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his work, and of course, Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing. Are two monumental posters, iconic posters that Drew had painted. I just would love to hear what John would have to say about that. Yeah. So that's kind of like one, but there were many others too. Frank Oz.
Well, that could be in the sequel.
Yes.
We through the movie too. It would be great. But I really enjoyed this film. Was there one thing in particular that you discovered about Drew that was like the most surprising to you, or the most enlightening aspect of it?
Well, I would say you're always looking for that, the story behind how everything comes about, behind his person and behind, his career. And when we really found out about his beginnings and how he came from very little, and his parents didn't have. I'm not going to give away. It was not a nurturing environment as a young man, and very much the opposite. So he really had to kind of struggle and fight against the tide, and hang on to his art and his craft. I think it saved his life. Yeah. And when you see the movie and when you talk to him and you really get how heavy that is and how important art was for him in his survival. Not only just to feed his family and to put his kids to school, and because that's everything was very workmanlike. But I think this is the art was much deeper. Yeah. And that I think that's touching, and that really moved all of us.
It's called Drew, the Man Behind the Poster. You can find out more information at drewthemovie.com, and we will have some information posted below this video. Be sure and check it out. Demand that your local movie theaters carry it, or if you're in a foreign country, do everything you can to find out where this thing is playing near you, because you got to see it. It's wonderful. Charles, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and hanging out with you, and I really enjoyed seeing the film with you guys and Drew, and it's been a magical experience.
Excellent. Thank you. Great meeting you too.